But Brandon, let's move on into our final topic. We're talking Michael Porter Jr. Didn't play so hot in the team's in his first game in the SEC tournament game that they had. Didn't do so hot. I know he had, 16 points in the tournament loss to Florida State. Took 12 shots to get those 16 points, though. There had been somebody in the stands of that game screaming, "Go Pro!" as he was coming to the bench in that game. A quote from Porter Jr. after, as he was swarmed by reporters, he said, and it's simple, "I don't feel like I helped the team." Brandon, I will ask you this. When it comes to his draft stock, has Michael Porter hurt his draft stock playing in these two games and coming back this year?
Well, I think it would be easy to say that, oh, yeah, he's hurt it because he didn't play well. But I don't know. I don't think that he's, like I said, when you had asked me this question, feels like a couple of weeks back now. Unless he came out and he absolutely was awful, that's the only way that I think that he was going to hurt it. Was he awful? He wasn't awful. Mm-hmm. He made some shots. He had a double-double in the tournament game, 16 points and 10 rebounds. That's on his second game back from a significant back injury.
Mm-hmm. Being at 60, 65%.
I don't think that he's going to really hurt his draft stock that much. Mm-hmm. I really don't, because the fact that he's still able to chip in 16 points, 10 rebounds, did he help his team? There needed to be more than just Michael Porter Jr. to make up for the points that they didn't have, the 13 points they needed to tie the game, as they lost 67-54 to Florida State, who did then go on to beat Xavier, by the way. I don't think that Michael Porter Jr. really played as bad as he probably thinks in his mind, or that people around Mizzou basketball are probably believing. Mm-hmm. Like, if they expected that they were going to get a savior to come back and be this 100% healthy guy who is going to go out there, get him 28 points a night, then they're crazy. Then they have some crazy fans. But I don't think that he's going to drop all that far. Will he drop a couple of spots? I could see that. Mm-hmm. Like, will he be a number 1 pick? No. Will he be a number 2 pick now? Probably not. But I still think he could be a top 5 pick. I think that he really would have had to have done a whole lot of damage and just absolutely stink. Like, go 0 of 17 would have been bad. He didn't do that.
Just to give you some perspective of the kind of trajectory that Michael Porter has had mock draft style, our 1.0 on the fast break side, Sean had him the highest at 3. I had him at 4. Dave had him at 5. Then on our 2.0, Dave and I had him at 5. Sean had him at 7. The one we just did this week that took into account the 2 games, Dave had him the highest at 3. Sean had him at 4. I had him at 5. And for me, that's where it's like, did he hurt his draft stock? The true answer to that question is no. Because you can still look at the player and be like, I know what I'm going to get. But it's like, is he going to be number 1? Is he going to be number 2? Is he maybe going to be number 3? No. I don't think he's a top 3 pick after those 3 games. However, the good thing is, and this is also I was going to answer this question of, did he hurt his draft stock? Well, if the draft was tomorrow, then yes. Good thing the draft ain't tomorrow. He's still going to have the combine to go through if he wants to. If he can show, to me the big question is, can he show teams what he's like when he's not 60%? Because another quote that I have from him after that loss is, if everyone was healthy and nobody had transferred, I mean, it would have been a whole different process of elimination in terms of a decision. There would have been more thought to it. With Cullen, that's Cullen Van Leer, going down with a torn ACL, it was a no-brainer. Even at 60, 65%, I was going to do what I could. So he was playing at 65%, still showed flashes of a top 10 pick. Like, we're not going crazy here. We're not saying that, he played bad, not a top 10 pick. Get him out of here. He's not a lottery pick. No, we're not saying that. But to me, I feel like he still has a little bit to prove on the sense of, all right, you showed what you can do at 65%. By the NBA Combine, I'm hoping you're closer to 90 because I want to see what you can do at 90. If you can do what we thought you could do at 90 at the Combine, I'll forget all about this injury and I will draft you in the top 3. Maybe not number 1. I don't know, even with the strong Combine, if he could catch a DeAndre Ayton or a Luka Doncic, but I think he could still be a top 3 pick with a strong Combine.
Well, that's what we want to be able to see. We want to be able to see the true player that we're going to be able to get. And I think to see this at half or a little bit more than half of what he can actually do, I think that's pretty good for a guy who's literally getting cleared and going right into play. That's pretty good. I mean, you're also asking a whole lot of him, and you're also putting a whole lot on him right away to go in, okay. And when I say I mean his coaches, they know what to expect. You know, they want to get as much as they possibly can. They want to be able to get his absolute best, but they know they're probably not going to. But they're getting his heart. He's going out there, he's giving them that, and he's going to play. It's everyone else who expects, he's back. He better be playing like he was when we saw the videos on him, when he was at the beginning of the season before he got hurt. That's just usually not going to happen. It didn't happen here. But I think that to be able to see, like you said, flashes of what he's able to do, again, I like the 16 points, 10 rebounds. The fact that he was able to chip in that much and be that much of a difference maker in terms of where he was and how his team was. And I think it also makes, you have to bring into effect the fact that everyone else around him. What else was he playing with? Who else was he playing with? Multiple other injuries. And guys that just weren't at 100%. And that's usually where you're at when you get to the tournament. You have to try and fight through that. They weren't able to get that overall. But for Michael Porter Jr., he has been hanging solid in the top 5 for so long. Like I said, there was going to have to be something dramatic that would have happened to knock him out of there. And he didn't do anything dramatic to knock him out of there. He did enough to keep him right where he was.
Well, and the thing that I even look to as I scroll down the article that I'm looking at from kansascity.com, they even asked Jonte Porter, his younger brother, what he thought, and he said he made a couple boneheaded mistakes. That's what's going to happen if you aren't playing the whole season. And here's a question I'm going to throw out there that I've thought about. Could we see Michael Porter Jr. do the Miles Bridges treatment, I'll say? You know what? Could be a top 10 pick. I'm going to stay another year, though. I'm going to stay another year in college. Maybe instead of, and it all depends on because I'm not sure. I know that there's a deadline in the NBA of after the lottery. Once the lottery is set, teams can then decide if they want to go back to college after seeing the complete order. I don't know off the top of my head if that date is before or after the Combine, but if he's feeling like, you know what, I'm not going to be 90% by the Combine, could there be a chance, I think there could be a little bit, that we maybe see a Miles Bridges thing where it's like, wow, he could have been a what kind of a pick? And he's going back to school. What are you thinking? Do you think there's any thought in the mind after these games that Michael Porter might be saying, what if I go back? Like, is that even a thought in the mind, or do you think Michael Porter is just NBA, NBA, NBA?
There's probably a lot of thoughts in his mind, and probably number one thought is, I've got to get healthy real fast, because I think he wants to be able to go to the NBA, and I think he wants to be able to be a high draft pick. Who truly would not
turn that down?
Who truly would not want to be able to do that? But
I wish I could be a number one overall pick.
You also have to be ready. Miles Bridges, he would have been fine with it, but he he had a different thought. It's not that he didn't want to do it. It's that he had a different thought. He went in a different direction.
Pause really quick. Random question, because it's just hit me. I thought about this today. Just quickly, yes or no, then back to Michael Porter. Miles Bridges didn't win a championship. Does he then stay for a third year because he wants to win a championship? Does he stay a third year because he wants to win a college championship? He's still got 2 more tries to do it. Just a thought I had. Okay, Michael Porter.
I don't think so.
Just a thought I had.
I don't think so. Going back, though, Michael Porter, his ultimate thought right now should probably be, I have got to get healthy and I've got to get ready for the NBA Combine and make sure that I am well prepared to show them everything that I've got to my fullest. But if there's something that happens or he doesn't feel like he's going to be there, I think you have to truly start considering maybe staying. I don't think that that's going to happen, but you want to be able to show them your best. You also want to be comfortable be at your best. If you're not, then why do it? Why start off your NBA career little screwed up and a little off when you could go back, get right, get healthy, have a whole season of being healthy, but then the question could be, what if you went back and something else happened?
What if you hurt your back worse? I looked up the timeline, though, really quick. So May 15th, draft lottery here in Chicago. Let's hope there's a little rig magic and the Bulls get that first overall pick. So the 15th of May will be the draft lottery. That's when the order's set in stone. That's what we know what it'll be. Then the 16th through the 20th in Chicago will be the NBA draft combine. So you get lottery. Here's what it is. There's the combine for the next 4 days. Then players have until June 11th as the NBA draft early entry withdrawal deadline. So by 5 p.m. Eastern on June 11th, players will have to decide, do I want to go pro or do I want to come back to college? So basically what he could do, see the order. I don't think that matters to him, but do the combine. And then after the combine be like, all right, now let me just take the month to decide on my decision. Was I happy with what I did? Do I feel like I can make that jump right now to the NBA of where I am? Because that's going to be 2 months of getting healthy before the combine and then another month before the deadline. Or after the combine, then he could be like, you know what? Didn't feel so good about that. I'm just going to go back to school. I'm going to go back to school, have another full year, prove myself, kind of do the Miles Bridges thing. So that's kind of the timeline that we're working with. I don't know. If you put a gun to my head and was like, is he going to stay in school or go? I would probably say go just so you didn't shoot me. But I would have a really hard time believing my answer because I think with Michael Porter Jr., don't know him personally, but I think there could be a little thought in there because we've talked about it before with, do I want to stay and play with my brother? His dad has connections to the Missouri basketball team. There could be a little thought that he goes, you know what? I'm going to stay in college 1 more year. And for Michael Porter Jr., because of the injury, depending on how the combine goes, it might not be the worst thing in the world if he did that. However, you always got the side of just go get paid, do the Ben Simmons treatment, and take your year off while cashing in on that NBA paycheck.
Well, I think you're right, and I think there's plenty of talk, especially now, as of we've as of hit the tournament ending for Mizzou and them being done and everything like that. I think that it makes things a lot more okay. What is next? Are you moving forward? How are you going to prepare? Like if you're Michael Porter Jr., you've either got to prepare for the NBA and get ready to go, or
prepare to come back to
school. They are two completely different roads and two completely different paths in the way that you're going to be preparing. Because the NBA is going to be I think, a little bit more rigorous. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more impressing that you need to do. If you're coming back to school, I don't think you necessarily need to be impressing anyone. That's going to be, if you're coming back to school, I'm focusing on making sure that I'm going to be 100% healthy, and then moving on with the and then getting back to where I'd like to be. But with the NBA, I think that is, yeah, you want to be healthy, but you're focused on, I have to be the very best that I possibly can. Even if I'm not a whole 100% healthy, I have got to focus on being the absolute best so that I can impress and get that good draft spot.
Here's what I'm thinking. Michael Porter Jr., because I know you're listening. If you want to go the Miles, and the one thing I haven't mentioned about the Miles Bridges route that someone's probably already mentioned in the comment section, Miles Bridges didn't come back because of an injury. Miles Bridges came back because he said, I want to win a national championship for Michigan State. Hey, Miles, you can still do it. You can still come back and win a national championship. You got 2 more years to do it. But with Porter's situation, the only reason in my mind he comes back is if he still wants to play for his dad, who is an assistant coach with the Missouri Tigers. Or if John Tay's like, you know what? I don't like my draft situation. I'm actually going to stay in college an extra year. And if both the Porter brothers go, you know what? We want to play with Dad 1 more year. We're going to stay in college. That's the only way I think he stays. If it's an injury question, I think he goes through the combine, does the best he could, lets the draft play out like it's going to, no matter what that is, and then do, at the worst, the Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. Those are the recent examples that I have of it, of, yeah, I got drafted by this team. My injury may keep me out, but at least I'm getting to use NBA facilities. I'm getting to, because I don't have to go to class, I can just focus NBA basketball, getting rehabbing, working with pro trainers, depending on what team your trainers could be better than the other ones. But that's the route I think he will go, unless it's like, I want to still play another year for Dad, because I'm never going to be able to do that if I do go to the NBA, because I don't think Michael Porter Sr. is getting an NBA assistant coaching job anytime soon.
I know it's a
hard decision to make, and I'm glad I'm not in that situation.
It's definitely a hard decision for him because of the fact of, and maybe it isn't hard. Maybe it's not a hard decision. Maybe it's not a hard decision. Maybe it's,
for me. I'm
going straight to the NBA draft. I'm going to be drafted with a really good pick at very high. I'm going to get good money. I'm going to be set. But at the same time, if he is going to this team not being 100% healthy, you don't want to be that guy that's dogged by injury, one at the beginning of your career, and then not be able to get it right to be able to fully go 100% or ever really feel 100%. I'm not saying I'm not saying that would be the case, but that's not something and not the way that you want to start off your NBA career if it were to happen. And if you were able to stay in school, get a full year, hopefully, but then there's that what if factor. What if something else happened, and then NBA teams start to turn away from you because the next big thing comes on the scene. And that's what we're all about. The next big thing. Who's going to be the next big thing that we turn our attention to them?
MBT.
And then Michael Porter Jr. is an afterthought. That's what he doesn't want either.
Spoiler alert. The next big thing is Zion Williamson next year. He's going to shock. He's all we're going to probably talk about next year for the draft, unless he gets injured. Then we might talk about him even more, because look at what happened with Michael Porter Jr. because he got injured.
But I think that's a definite worry too. Is that there's always somebody new coming up. And there's always somebody else that we're going to turn our attention to, whether it's the media, whether it's scouts, whether it's teams in general. That's why you almost have to take if you've got a good draft and you're going to be a high pick and you're going to have good guaranteed money coming to you and a nice contract. I mean, look at what's happened with Miles Bridges.
Yep.
He was going to be a really high draft pick, And now, I mean, people have him 16, 17, into the teens. I don't see him going to 20s, but I mean, look at what can happen in just one season.
Mm-hmm. Two questions for you. One, to put a nice bow on this Michael Porter Jr. thing, I believe he's going to go through the combine and then go to the NBA draft. I don't think there could be a small chance he comes back. I don't think he does. Michael Porter Jr., NBA. What do you think? Shock the world, he comes back for a sophomore season, or will we see Michael Porter Jr. in the NBA next year?
I think we're going to see him in the NBA. I think he's going to make the decision to go.
Second question for you. It has nothing to do with Michael Porter Jr., but yet again, this is a week where a lot of stuff and questions happened where we could have done 6 topics today, but I didn't want to keep you guys here too long. I want to ask you this at the end as we're heading out into the end of the show. Tom Izzo, is he going to still be at Michigan State, or do you think he gets fired? Because there are some rumblings that either because of getting bounced in the first weekend again, the stuff going on with the Michigan State and their scandal, is there a possibility that Tom Izzo's time in East Lansing is smaller and shorter than we may think? He said he's going to be there for a long time, though.
I think he will be there for a long time. I think that this was unfortunately another bump in the road, but what Michigan State needs to do and what I'm sure is going to be out there, and Tom Izzo is one of the, I would say, one of the most underrated good coaches in all of college basketball. Mm-hmm. But because I really do think he is underrated, and he gets underrated by a lot of the people when they're rating coaches and stuff like that. But I do think that Michigan State needs to go far next year. And if they can do that, mm-hmm. that will put the last couple of season finishes in the rearview mirror, and they can move on. But right now, people remember Middle Tennessee, and people certainly remember Syracuse right now.
Well, and the thing that I think with Tom Izzo is the fact that next year, the thing that might be a little harder, of course, there's always new names every year, but Miles Bridges and Jaren Jackson Jr. I know Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't have a great tournament performance.
Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Yeah.
Is he still on the team? I'm sorry, I didn't see him the other day.
Yes, he still is. But my point is, those two might not be on the team next year because they could be playing in the NBA. This is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think about Michael Porter Jr. Did he hurt his draft stock? What do you think for the overall draft discussion with Michael Porter Jr. after the 2 games that we saw? I want to thank you guys for watching and listening. Housekeeping here at the end. Patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. That's where you get to come on. You get to join a podcast. You ask questions for the monthly Q&A. I believe we have to do the March one. I don't think we did the March one. We got to do that one for you guys. And then you can also get a Patreon exclusive podcast each and every month. I believe you and I were on the March one. It was a while ago, so I don't remember if that was us. I think it was us.
Yeah.
I think you and I did it, so it's a great podcast. It's great as always. You can check out mostvaluablepodcast.com. That's where we put everything each and every day. You've got the Apple Podcast. Please go ahead and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. Would mean the world to us. And last but not least, MVP t-shirts. Those are down below in the description to our store. Want to thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Want to thank you guys for listening to podcast services around the world. Last thing to housekeeping, forgot to add this earlier. Check out the new podcast MVP, The Outcasts with Buzz and Juice. They're the Outcasts because we don't let them in the MVP studios. They're not allowed. So they get to record in your mom's basement. I think that's what they're calling the basement, is your mom's basement.
I love
your
it.
Being a collective
I love
your. But this is where you guys come in. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a good day, everybody.